The last works of one of Australia's most loved painters, Margaret Olley, have gone on show in Sydney. Many of them were painted by Olley while perched high above Sydney Harbour on the balcony of the home of a longtime friend, Barry Humphries. He's given a rare interview to Rebecca Bailey in honour of his great friend.
Few artists lay such claim to our attention, or have an audience that is so adoring. Unlike some national treasures I could mention, her life, in contrast, isn't dull or boring. I felt closer to her than to almost any other person. Life is not really the same without her.
7 months after her death, Margaret Olley's closest friends are still coming to terms with the fact she's gone.
She said, "Darling, I'm like the old tree that knows it's dying and it's giving out its last burst of leaves." And I just burst into tears. I couldn't stand the thought of it.
Margaret Olley knew she was running out of time. In the last months of her life, she was in a frenzy of productivity. Now those final paintings are on show, revealing the ultimate insights of one of Australia's greatest artists.
She practically lived with me for some time in a flat that I have in Sydney with a wonderful view. She asked if she might come and paint it. I said, "Well, it's just a small balcony, Margaret." She said, "Oh, darling, that's all right. I can manage there." And she'd sit out there, was invariably smoking, squinting at the view and painting.
Legendary actor, impersonator, author and painter Barry Humphries was in Margaret Olley's inner circle.
Oh, it looks good from here, doesn't it?
He's seeing for the first time the completed panorama of Sydney Harbour, which Olley painted from his balcony.
It looks better than the real view. The last time I saw her, she had the 3 sections of a triptych arranged on the floor, and she was looking at it very critically. And she said, "Oh, darling, I've got to finish this picture." And she did it.
Some of these paintings are as good as any she's ever done, and in fact the 2 triptychs I think are her absolute masterworks. She painted those 2 panels on the left, sitting and looking towards the blue sofa, but to paint this one, you can sense that she's actually turned about 30 degrees towards
Recently
the wall.
retired head of Australian art at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, Barry Pearce was also a frequent visitor at Margaret Olley's inner Sydney terrace house.
It was like a magic world, and I became drawn into it and really never left it. I found her a bit difficult at first, but it was her blunt honesty which appealed to me, and I found that quite attractive.
And in 1948 does it again with his portrait of young Brisbane artist Margaret Olley.
When I first saw the portrait of Margaret by William Dobell on the cover of the Woman's Weekly all those years ago, I never thought that I'd get to know the painter. But she did look a very interesting, voluptuous woman. She saw through everything, and her judgment of people was extremely shrewd. I kept thinking, I hope she doesn't really find out about me. I think you, more than any other Australian painter, you're popular in England.
You think so?
Yes.
Oh, well, they're all hand done.
Well, you see, that's the difference. She helped a lot of people very quietly without getting found out. And that's a sign of a very, very high character.
In July last year, emphysema finally claimed her. When Margaret Olley put down her brushes for the last time, she did so in the knowledge that her work was done.
She finished her exhibition for this show almost to the last night of her life, and went to bed relieved that it was all done and dusted. And then she never really recovered. That was it. That was her last night on earth.
A crowded tabletop, a pomegranate, a vase of cornflowers or a lily spray. In case you've lost your bearings on the planet, Olley provides a glimpse of Double Bay. Oh, I can laugh and describe anecdotes with Margaret because she is still there with me, you know. And so long as these paintings give the huge pleasure that they do, then she is a living presence in Australian art.
Rebecca Bailey reporting on two national treasures.